Hume, and for Hume, knowledge must be ultimately grounded in, as we mentioned, empiricism, sense expression, right? Sense perception, rather. Even mathematics, he suggests, must answer to our observations, right?
Right.
And so seeing is believing, right? And so what he wants to do now is to say, okay, fine, so let's Hume now is an empiricist, right? Seeing is believing, our sense perceptions. Everything has to be grounded in our observations that are based on our sense perceptions. And so let's take a step back with regard to this explanation that we saw in the last chapter and make sure now that we're skeptical enough with regard to this explanation and what it's gotten us to. He says, we saw, however, that by taking science seriously, Hume got more than he bargained for, right? Further encouraging his skeptical temperament and forcing him to recognize that we have no non-secular arguments for the reliability of sense perception or reason. So my knowledge is based on sense perception, but I have no non-circular reason. Right? How can I justify my sense perception? Well, I justify it. How do I know it's true? Well, I know it's true because that's what my sense perception tells me.
That's what it tells me to, so I'm going to believe it.
Yeah. So but why do you believe it? Well, because
it tells me to.
It tells me to. Yeah.
I'm sorry. I don't know what more you need from this.
And the same way with the reason, right? Reason is, again, justified by reason.
Right.
And so these are circular arguments, right? Why do you believe blue is blue? Well, because blue is blue. Duh, right?
Makes sense. Makes sense, yeah. I mean, but again, you're driving your car, you see the shimmer in the road on a hot day. Well, clearly there's water at the end of it. I'm supposed to believe my senses, and I come to the point where I thought it was, but no, it's just further down, so I keep driving. Or I walk on the train tracks and they come to a point. Well, I'm going to go to the point because I don't want the train to hit that point and go off the rail. Right. And I just keep walking and I keep walking until I get to the changing station. They must have fixed that point along the way. So good thing.
Yeah. So sober skeptics realize that there's no non-circular arguments for the reliability of sense perception or reason. We have to use circular arguments. The problem with circular arguments is they don't tell us anything. Right? We live in Kalamazoo, Michigan, right? So is Kalamazoo in Michigan? Yes. Why do you believe that? Well, because Kalamazoo is in Michigan. Right. That's a circular argument. Yeah. If I don't have a good justification, that doesn't give me. If I didn't believe Kalamazoo is in Michigan, saying that Kalamazoo is in Michigan wouldn't convince me.
Right. Well, nor are you saying anything new by it. If it wasn't, if you didn't believe that it wasn't off the bat, you wouldn't have said Kalamazoo is in Michigan. So.
Right. And so things now begin to get worse, especially for Hume. Right? Because he's an empiricist. He wants to base his knowledge on sense perception and reason.
Right.
And now let's look at science. Well, what we find is science is founded on, guess what? Sense perception and reason.
Yeah. Oh, man.
Yeah.
That's going to be hard.
So Hume had a choice, right? He could fully accept his skeptical conclusions and say, since sense perception and reasons, there's no non-circular justification for them, I guess we can't justify science, right? So he could fully accept his skeptical conclusions and reject science and everything else, right? Or, right, he could go ahead and trust his cognitive faculties, right, his ability to see and experience and mentally reason and that kind of stuff, thereby sustaining his devotion to science. He chose, obviously, to sustain his devotion to science.
I have a feeling we could replace the word trust there with a different word, and you could maybe exchange it with the word, I don't know, faith.
Faith.
You have faith that your sense perception, what your eyes are telling you, what your ears are perceiving, what you're smelling, what you're touching, those things exist purely based on faith.
Yeah. Of course, now, Mitch Stokes wants us to use trust, and so he says Hume realized that true love always requires trust. And, of course, his true love was science.
Well, yeah, Hume's was.
Yeah. And so Hume, wants us to trust science.